What up guys, SuperMetal983 here bringing us another digital review, and we're going to continue off with the last video that I uploaded, which was me review of Xanthochroid's latest album, or rather first part of the album, which is of Erthe And Axen. And that review that I done previously was Act 1, now we're on to Act 2. Now, as I said in the previous video, the first part of this album was absolutely fantastic, absolutely loved it, full of passion, picturesqueness, epicness, and just overall a quite as if cinematic kind of experience listening to that first part. But now we'll move on to part 2 of the album. Now, as I stated in the previous video, Xanthochroid are a kind of progressive, melodic black metal band from the US, and I believe it's California they're from. And yeah, first part absolutely amazing, so now we're on to part 2. Now, as I said in the previous video also, that the first part was more of a kind of more melodic side and a bit more of a progressive side to that front, whereas the second half would be going more into the whole like aggressive side and a bit more of the more edgier, I would say, aside, but still continuing with that powerful, epic atmosphere that Xanthochroid are creating. Now, obviously, this one is a little bit different, as I said, with the angry side of things, and I think personally that this album, the whole album as a whole, like part 1, part 2, is as if like a story being told. It's not an album that you can specifically pick out your favourite songs, and it's the same with part 1 and part 2. You can't specifically pick out like, oh, like that's my favourite song, I'm gonna go at that. Well, you can pick out your favourite song obviously, but you can't like specifically just go to that song and just listen to it like out of the blue, because the album just doesn't, you can't just jump to a singer. This is an album series, you could say, or duo you have to listen to front to back, part 1 from the start to the end, part 2 from start to the end, because there's so much flow and consistency with these albums. And that's one thing that I mentioned also in the previous video, that Xanthochroid, I feel, offers so much, that whole like pace, and it feels like a really nice flow to it, that but by the time the album's over, you're like, that just serenaded me so much and made us feel so relaxed that it was as if a cinematic kind of experience. And there's not a lot of albums that can pull off a kind of cinematic kind of vibe and give it that overall picturesqueness in the depths of which you listen to it. But this album is definitely taken a bit more of a kind of aggressive, more black metal sort of side. I think personally, this one reminds me a lot of Obliviscaris in a way, especially in the likes of the PaulWWilson and Erthe. If you haven't listened to those albums, make sure you check out those albums, because if even if you're a fan of those 3 albums, then you'll find something to like about Xanthochroid, and especially of Erthe And Axen. I mean, this series is kind of like giving us the same warmth and feelings that the likes of what was it, Swallow the Sun's Songs for the North part 1, 2 and 3. Yeah, that was a triple album series, but this is a double album, and it was the perfect unleashing of these album series. The first part was absolutely beautiful, with a lot of passion and a bit more emotion involved, whereas this one feels a bit more upbeat and a bit more huge sounding. Like the last album did sound massive and huge, but this one just sounds like it has a lot more power and a bit more of a, as I said, aggressive side. It kind of takes on that sort of Obliviscaris kind of vibe to me. But yeah, drum work is absolutely phenomenal once again. There's ridiculous beats in there, some really technical stuff that you would hear on a Obliviscaris or even a Dimmu Borgir kind of album. That's the kind of vibes that I get from the drummer. Is definitely abracadabra sort of vibe, and that personally to me is a great album. So if anyone has a different opinion, that's your opinion. But yeah, definitely feel that. But the creativity behind the drums is top notch and something to behold, and definitely one of the best drum performances I've heard on a progressive metal release this year. But yeah, guitar department, very, very clean. As I didn't mention the production in the last one, I don't think, but it's a very clean, crisp tone, but it's very audible. Every note definition is heard just to the precise crunch to it, and just gives it that whole clarity and atmosphere to it. But obviously, with that comes the majestic, huge kind of Wintersun kind of operatics and cinematics that come literally surrounding this atmosphere of this album. It's not like up front in the mix like, say, a Flesh God Apocalypse album would be. It's like well endowed in the mix. You can hear the guitars still, and the drums and the vocals, and the cinematics are there to just give it that overall depth. It kind of feels like a whole progression and a whole experience to listen to with this album. And once again, vocal work is absolutely tremendous, magnificent, stupendously good. The cleans are easily the best parts of these albums to me. Like, you listen to them and they're just filled with so much emotion, control, and just power. Like, the vocals are just oozing with beauty and just raw. Like, all the emotion is just being put into those voices, and they just come out so passionate, and I absolutely love it. It makes us feel good listening to this album, and that's, in my opinion, what a very good album should be able to do, is make you feel good about yourself and really enjoy the depths and the whole experience of this album. And I definitely feel like the aggressive sort of screams, you could say, the harsh vocals, definitely come into their own on this part compared to the first part, because the first part was kind of like a bit more as if blossoming, you know what I mean? Like, whereas this one, I feel a little bit more rage and a bit more potent compared to the cleans. Like, I feel like if you listen to the first album, you remember it for the cleans and the atmosphere, whereas this one, you remember it for the screams, if you ask me, and then also with the, like, more sort of energetic side of the part 2, in my opinion. But yeah, honestly, a fantastic album to listen to. Both of them really take on a very great atmosphere to your listening habits. Like, listening to this album makes you question your abilities as a musician, and a lot of prog artists that I've listened to over the past couple of years has made us feel that, from the likes of Persephone to Xanthochroid, Obliviscaris, amongst others, that, and obviously Obscura and stuff like that, have all made us think, like, I've got a big mountain to climb up to get to that level and stuff. But honestly, like, Erthe And Axen has been a long wait. It has been a long wait, and Act 2 is definitely the big conclusion, the big mighty finish to this album series, and it started off beautiful and ended powerful, and throughout it crosses both boundaries of power, majesticness, and overall, as I said, and I keep on repeating myself, cinematicness. And cinematic is the perfect description, I think, to the Xanthochroid albums. And if you haven't heard their debut album, also check that out. That is a sick as fuck album. But these two are definitely the sweet spot, in my opinion. I think when it comes to my top albums list of 2017, this may very well make an appearance, but I won't be classing like Act 1 and Act 2 in different places. No. Because I could have done that with PaulWWilson. I could have put, oh, this one's at this place and then that one's at that place. But that's not how it works. Because this album, yeah, in my opinion, and this is how I'm going to view it, you could class it as a top 26 for all I care. I don't care. I'm going to class it as a double album in itself. And I'm going to put Act 1 and Act 2 together as a top album slot in. Because, in my opinion, you have to listen to Act 1 and then go straight into Act 2 and just be blown away by this whole atmosphere that's on this album. So yeah, if you're into bands such as Obliviscaris, Wintersun, or Dimmu Borgir, or even you want some progressive elements and beautiful moments like Opeth, then this is a band for you. A band that I think deserve a lot more exposure and a lot more going for. They've got so much going for them. It's ridiculous to come across a band at a stature or a place that Xanthochroid are not very well known at all, but bringing out such a mind-blowing album filled with so much talent, so much great musicianship just coming together, just uniting into a double album that's took a long time to come out, but it's finally here, and it is absolutely amazing. Part 2 is excellent and a great conclusion. I'm going to give this a solid 8 out of 10, because personally, if I had to choose, I would prefer part 1, but in all honesty, part 2 is absolutely amazing. So make sure you check out Xanthochroid. I'll leave some links down below, as in the previous video as well. Leave some links down below for you to check out Xanthochroid, check out of Erthe And Axen, and I think it's called He Blessed With Boils. I think that's what it's called. I could be wrong on that. Keep on getting the title mixed up, but yeah, I'll leave some links down below for where you can pick up this album as well, because it's available on CD, shirts, and other formats, MP3, whatever you want to buy it on. But yeah, make sure you check out this album, and I've got the CD coming in soon from the guys, and I'm really happy to own this in my collection when it arrives. So yeah, 8 out of 10 for Erthe And Axen Part 2. Make sure you check out my review for Part 1, and I'll see you until the next video, and remember, stay metal, and I'll see you later.